Okay, so Michelle is busy letting people in. Meanwhile, I'd like to welcome everybody to the first ever Editors Canada Online Awards ceremony. And thank you so much for attending. First of all, I would like to mention that the presentation is being recorded. So if you'd like to make yourself invisible, now would be the time to do that. Otherwise, you may appear on the recording. Also, I'd like to mention that applause of the shortlisters and winners would be best provided in the chat function or by using the reaction emojis. We've reasoned that if people actually clap or cheer aloud, this can sort of hijack the Zoom function and interrupt the person who's speaking. So if you could keep your comments and applause in the chat and the emojis, that would be great, thanks. Editors Canada, although this is the first online awards ceremony, Editors Canada has been presenting awards since 1983 when the Tom Fairley Award for Editorial Excellence was first presented. And so this is one of our longest running programs to pay tribute to editors and to future editors and what they do for writers and for the community in general. Before we get into the ceremony per se, I would like to read the land acknowledgement. Okay. So, Editors Canada respectfully acknowledges that we are on and work on the traditional lands of the Indigenous peoples, Inuit, First Nations, Métis, in what we now call Canada. We honor the ancestry, heritage, and gifts of the Indigenous peoples and give thanks to them. We encourage you to learn more about the Indigenous cultures, traditional territories, and effects of colonization in your region. This ceremony is to honor the finalists and recipients of 4 awards: the Claudette Upton Scholarship, the Equity Fellowship, the Karen Virag Award, and the Tom Fairley Award for Editorial Excellence. And the awards will be presented in this order. So the first award that will be presented is the Claudette Upton Scholarship, which is presented to a promising student in an editing-related field. There were 3 judges on the panel for the Claudette Upton Scholarship this year: Letitia Henville, Lenore Heatkamp, and David Johansson. And the scholarship will be being presented by Lenore Heatkamp on behalf of the judging panel. So I would like to hand it over to Lenore now.
Lenore, you need to unmute yourself. Sorry.
I'll start again. Thank you very much to Zofia and to Editors Canada. I'm happy to represent the 3 judges who worked on this award. We were very impressed with the number of high quality nominations from student editors across the country. The person who won the award, Madison Taylor, stood out for her clear aptitude for editing, the evidence of her intent to pursue an editing career, her involvement with causes important to the world, and her commitment to helping other editors. Madison has a strong editing background that extends to her days as an undergraduate student at the University of Saskatchewan, attesting to her commitment to pursuing a career as an editor. Her letter of reference from an instructor spoke to her excellence and dedication in editing courses, and how the driving force for her editing career is her passion for expressing inclusivity in writing, working with and elevating the voices of marginalized writers. We were particularly impressed with the short essay she wrote, which embodies the essence of who Claudette Upton was and the reason the scholarship was created. The topic the judges posed for the essay this year was, how might kindness be part of the editor's career? Madison's essay not only presents a rich understanding of how and where it is possible to practice kindness as an editor, but it is beautifully written, progressing from the basic to the profound. Madison begins by saying that editing with kindness is, quote, the bare bones entry-level requirement, essential when providing suggestions and when working to champion the author's unique voice. She then expands the idea to say that an editor practices kindness among colleagues through mentoring, teaching, and volunteering. And finally, she writes that editing is a radical act of great power because editors help readers explore their authentic selves. Speaking from her own personal experience as both a reader and an editor, editing is, she says, the noblest thing an editor can do. Working with authors and helping them explore their authentic selves is the noblest thing an editor can do. We look forward to seeing how Madison's career develops as she emerges as a professional and brings her perspective to authors and to the editing community in this country. Thank you, and congratulations to Madison.
Okay, we would now like to hand it over to Madison Taylor. Madison, if you're muted, please unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone, and thank you, Lenore, for the kind words. I'm deeply honored to be the recipient of this year's Claudette Upton Award. Thank you to Editors Canada and to the awards committee for their consideration and support. Thank you to Heba Sorur for writing me an incredibly thoughtful reference letter, to the team at Page 2 Books for championing my editorial development, even though it's not what they hired me for, to Natana and Megan at Party Trick Press for offering me what has turned out to be the most rewarding work of my life so far, and to anyone who has ever trusted me with their writing. I'm so grateful to all of you. I was told at the beginning of my career that to be a good editor, I had to be invisible. Flouting this advice is the best thing I've ever done. Becoming visible by connecting meaningfully with authors and other editors has made me a better editor. For me, this is where the real magic happens. I'm thankful to be the recipient of this award, not only because it's an enormous honor, but also because I hope it will help me fill my life and work with more of these magic connections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madison. The next award that will be presented is the Equity Fellowship. And I must advance my screen. This is designed to support editors who've traditionally been excluded by the publishing and editing industries, including editors who are BIPOC, 2S LGBTQIA+, neurodivergent, or disabled. There may be up to 3 successful applicants each year. The judges for this award were Heather Buzilla, President of Editors Canada, and Adebe Derango Adam. And presenting the awards will be Heather Buzilla. Heather, over to you, please.
Thank you. So as mentioned, I'm Heather Buzilla, the current president of Editors Canada. And it was my privilege this year to be one of the judges for the Equity Fellowship, along with the Editors Canada Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Advisor, Adebe Derango Adam. The Equity Fellowship is presented annually by Editors Canada to up to 3 successful applicants and is designed to support editors who have traditionally been excluded by the publishing and editing industries, including editors who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, 2SLGBTQIA+, neurodivergent, and disabled. Each recipient will receive registration in one of Editors Canada's conferences, 3 Editors Canada webinars, Editing Canadian English and Editorial Niches, ebook From Contact to Contract, one of each of the 4 certification test prep guides, membership in Editors Canada for 1 year, and a listing in the Editors Canada online directory of editors for 1 year. This year's recipients of the Equity Fellowship are Anastasia Chapelski, Natalie Goyette, and Emily Bradley. I wish you all the best in pursuing your editing careers.
Okay, and I believe just one of our fellowship recipients is here to speak to us today. I'm afraid I don't know which one it is. Who is going to be speaking today, Heather?
It's Anastasia, I believe.
Anastasia, would you like to unmute yourself and speak, please?
Thank you. I'm technically on vacation this week, and it's hit for me once again just how much of each day is dedicated to basic survival. I don't get to take a chronic illness vacation, a disability vacation, a time out from the physical, mental, emotional, or administrative burden that follows. So I'm grateful for this fellowship and specifically for the lens of equity that it came with. I'd like to have the same opportunities as my peers to not only survive, but to build my career, to hone my skills, to practice my creativity. We don't all have access to the same resources, even the same 24 hours in a day. And I've realized that a lot of the conventional advice I've received about building a business or a career no longer applies for me. I have to build something new. I've also learned along this twin journey of building a career and embracing my life for what it is that disabled people are ingenious. We have to be to survive in a world that wasn't built for us. We develop, often under duress, excellent project management skills. We build contingency plans. We organize our teams. We learn when to delegate. We dive into research and advocacy. We learn to communicate complex topics clearly and simply so that others can understand. The time I spend surviving is also a crash course in skill building. And I'm deeply grateful for all the disability justice advocates who've been at this longer than I have, who shared their wisdom and their experience, which allowed me to both reframe my perspective and to dream of a good life, including, not in spite of, my disabilities. So this year, I'm extremely excited to complement this foundation with a dedicated space to go beyond survival and further develop my capacity as an editor. Through this fellowship, I attended the Editors Canada conference, which was excellent, and now have so many incredible resources here on my desk. Thank you so much to Editors Canada for extending this opportunity and for actively recognizing the concept of equity for our field. I look forward to working with all of you this year.
Thank you very much, Anastasia. The next award that we are presenting is the Karen Virag Award. This is the award that we colloquially say is created for editing heroes. This award, created in memory of longtime member Karen Virag, recognizes the efforts of an editor or an organization to raise the profile of editing in their community. And as editors know, that's not necessarily an easy task. It was first presented in 2016 and includes a $400 cash award. This year's judging panel for the Karen Virag Award consisted of Carolyn Brown, Ambrose Lee, and Kathy Lieber. Presenting the award on behalf of the judges, well, presenting not only the winner, but in point of fact, the shortlist on behalf of the judges will be Ambrose Lee. So Ambrose, if you would like to unmute yourself if you're muted and speak now, please.
Thank you, Zofia. Bonjour tout le monde. The Karen Virag Award is given annually to an editor who raises the profile of the editing profession in the wider community. This year, we have 3 nominations that made the shortlist. They're Leslie Cameron, Joy Gugler, and Rosemary Shipton. Leslie Cameron has been a mentor and colleague to many editors who speak highly of her warmth and support. She has juried the Anne and Philip Yandel Best Article Award. She volunteers in community events, including Word on the Street and the Surrey Festival. One colleague calls her a networking hub, raising the profile of the editing profession within the realms of writers and publishers. Joy Gugler teaches at Vancouver Island University and has her own publishing consulting business. She is also an instructor at Simon Fraser University and what is now known as the Toronto Metropolitan University. She publishes Portal magazine and has acquired and edited over 100 titles for several presses. She jurys national and provincial book, magazine, and online publishing awards and grants. She also appears in the media and at many events, helping to raise the profile of the profession in the writing and editing community and beyond. Her students see her as a mentor who truly cares about their careers. Rosemary Shipton has had a career spanning 5 decades. She has worked in-house, freelance, and as a partner of a publishing consulting business. She has edited hundreds of well-known books and federal and provincial reports. She has worked with prominent authors, including Lester Pearson. In her 20 years in education and corporate training, she was a program developer, an instructor, and administrator. For 17 years, she coordinated the publishing program in what was known as Ryerson University. Of the 3 editors in the shortlist, one stands out as a class of her own. She is the one who proposed a publishing program in what is now the Toronto Metropolitan University. It is my pleasure to introduce the recipient of the 2022 Karen Virag Award, Rosemary Shipton.
Thank you, Ambrose. Now, Rosemary.
Well, this is a wonderful award for me to get, and I'm thrilled about it. I knew Karen quite well because in the early 2000s, we were both on the executive committee of Editors Canada at the same time. And at that period, we actually got together 4 times a year for meetings. And so I had the privilege of getting to know this glamorous, very witty, very erudite woman quite well. And I'm very proud now to win this award in her name. I also think it's an appropriate award for me to win because all my professional life, through my own work with books and reports, through the Ryerson Publishing Program, and in teaching seminars and workshops across Canada for Editors Canada and for other organizations and institutions. I've always had as my goal to raise the profile of editing in Canada. So I'd like to thank Editors Canada for sponsoring the award. I'd like to thank the jury for the hard work they've put into selecting the shortlist. And congratulations to Joy and to Leslie, who obviously have made their own very strong contributions to raising the profile of the editing profession in Canada.
Thank you very much, Rosemary, and congratulations. Now, the last award that will be presented today is Editors Canada's oldest award, the Tom Fairley Award for Editorial Excellence. And in addition to being our first award, some people would consider that it's also our most prestigious award. It's presented annually to an exceptional editor for a hard job of editing done in English or French. In addition to being an award for an outstanding job of editing, this award also presents particular challenges for the judges because it requires a lot of hard work on their part to come up with a winner. This year's judging panel consisted of James Harbeck, Sandy Newton, and Shira Rose Wilensky. And I should point out that Shira Rose was the winner of last year's Fairley Award. And she is the one who, on behalf of the 3 judges, will be presenting this year's Fairley Award. Shira Rose.
Hi, everybody. I'm Shira Rose Walensky. I'm an editor at House of Anansi, and I was very pleased to win last year's Tom Fairley Award for editing Butter Honey Pig Bread by Francesca Ekwesi when I was with Arsenal Pulp Press. And it's my extreme pleasure to be here to present the Tom Fairley Award shortlist and winner. My fellow judges, Sandy Newton and James Harbeck, and I were tremendously impressed by this year's nominations for the Tom Fairley Award. From short stories and novels to essays, memoir, and illustrated books, each project spoke of careful and meaningful contributions from the editors in deep collaboration with the authors. On to the shortlist. Hélène Demers, for What Was Said to Me, The Life of Stedham Adelwich, a Cowichan Woman by Stedham Adelwich, Ruby Peter, in collaboration with Hélène Demers, published by Royal BC Museum. Fazila Jiwa, for Spin Doctors, How Media and Politicians Misdiagnose the COVID-19 Pandemic by Nora Laredo, published by Fernwood Publishing. And Michael Lane for Where the Power Is, Indigenous Perspectives on Northwest Coast Art by Karen Virag, Bill McLennan, and Jordan Wilson, in collaboration with the Museum of Anthropology, University of British Columbia, published by Figure One Publishing. As noted by Royal BC Museum publisher Eve Rickert, the vital cultural history that is What Was Said to Me, The Life of Stedham Adelwich, a Cowichan Woman, would not exist without the tireless and skillful efforts of Hélène Demers over the course of many years. Hélène's dedication to the life story of Ruby Peter spanned decades, from when Hélène first interviewed Ruby in the late 1990s to the ultimate publication of the book in 2021. In seeing this book to completion, Hélène performed tasks, fulfilled roles, and displayed tact and diplomacy above and beyond those typically required of an editor. In addition to transcribing Ruby's interviews and transforming them into a cohesive manuscript, she worked conscientiously and sensitively with several generations of Ruby's family during a time of immense stress and grief, which included the COVID-19 pandemic and the death of the author. Hélène checked spellings and accuracy of Halkomenem words, redacted or revised material to protect traditional cultural knowledge, advised the publisher on the cultural appropriateness of production practices for publishing an oral history, and respectfully navigated with the late author's family the final stages of production after Ruby's death. Many books were written and edited under the difficult circumstances of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2021, but Fazila Jiwa navigated an extra set of challenges with her work on Spin Doctors, precisely because it was about an unfolding situation. This meant that the text was developed, shaped, and honed while neither author nor editor knew how, if, or when the pandemic would end. Fazila's passion for and knowledge about many of the underplayed social implications of the pandemic, her unwavering commitment to both high-level editorial matters and a myriad of specific details, and her persistent but ultra-positive pressure on the author to support her arguments and broaden her scope, all within extremely tight deadlines, beautifully demonstrate a key role of the editor to serve as a true ally to the author while ensuring the book produced is the best it can be. Finally, Michael Lane wrote that Where the Power Is, Indigenous Perspectives on Northwest Coast Art was easily the most challenging book of my career and a once-in-a-lifetime book. This book also required great sensitivity to Indigenous cultures and languages and to the needs and perspectives of 3 main authors and more than 80 contributors. For the final book's 372 pages, weighing in at 6 pounds, not only did Michael need to edit nearly 140 entries, determine their best order and presentation in the book, and somehow cut 20,000 words to make it all fit. He also had to manage the images that go with them, help ensure that their names in a variety of Indigenous languages from the Northwest Coast were handled consistently and responsibly, and pay close detail to exquisitely precise typographical nuances. This entailed extensive communication with the authors, consultation with outside experts, and a close collaboration with the book's designer to ensure that the images and text were presented in the most responsible and effective ways. Jess Sullivan, the book's designer, wrote, "I have worked on hundreds of complicated illustrated books, and I don't think I've ever encountered one as large, intense, and difficult as this. Without the combined efforts from Mike, it just wouldn't have been possible for me to design this the way it deserved." So that is our very impressive shortlist for the Tom Fairley Award, and now it is my pleasure to announce the winner. The winner of this year's Tom Fairley Award is Michael Lane for Where the Power Is, Indigenous Perspectives on Northwest Coast Art by Karen Virag, Bill McLennan, and Jordan Wilson. Congratulations, Mike. There were many examples of excellent editing among the nominations for the 2022 Tom Fairley Award, but the judges agreed that Mike went above and beyond the call of duty. In fact, my fellow judge, James Harbeck, described it as a 360-degree shitstorm of editing. The editorial tasks required for this book covered every aspect of the publishing process an editor might expect to have to deal with, and much more. This project took several years to realize, growing in length and complexity over that time, and Mike was deeply involved from the beginning to the end. We were deeply impressed by his care, respect, dedication, and ingenuity working on this project and collaborating closely with so many partners. Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you very much, Shira Rose. And now Michael.
Thank you so much. This is amazing. And yeah, not expected. There's some two other incredible nominees. I don't envy the job of the judges. Clearly could have gone any which way. Thank you to the judges and to Editors Canada. It's a rare experience being dragged into the spotlight. I've been at a lot of book launches for books I worked on where I'm, selling books and people are handing me their empty glasses. So this is nice. I'm speaking to you today from the territory of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam peoples. And MOA, as many of you will know, works very closely with Musqueam and has for many years. That relationship is in many ways kind of where this book started. Before I could talk about the book forever. First, I should also acknowledge all the hard work of the copy editor, Amy Hagsma, and especially Renata Proust, the proofreader, who played a massive role in working on the intricacies of all the different First Nations languages in the book. And Lara Smith, our managing editor at Figure One, for wrangling the application and also steering us through what, was at times a bit of a shit show. And also Jess, this book, it wouldn't have turned out the way it did without someone that's brilliant and passionate about her work as Jessica Sullivan. And it was a real, it was a joy, and working with her on it. And of course the authors, Karen, Jordan, and the late Bill McLennan, who's dearly missed. It's really, there's no better task in this job than working with authors that have like a clear and powerful vision. They have the skills, the thoughtfulness, the dedication to work through every single aspect and really get what they're trying to accomplish onto the page. And it was just, there were some challenges with deadlines and word counts, but we got there, and they were amazing every step of the way. And I'll talk about the book, but briefly, I've been asked to keep it to 2 minutes, which I think is the perfect amount of time to be in the spotlight. This book is incredible. I encourage everyone to get your hands on it if you can. It's just a rich collection of not just beautiful objects and belongings, but through the contributors and the essay by the authors, there's just such an incredibly deep amount of knowledge and showing how these objects connect to the communities they originated from, and really bring that continuum of cultural knowledge and practices through from thousands and thousands of years ago to today. There's one quote I wanted to mention briefly from the book. Marianne Nicholson, a Kwakwaka'wakw artist and activist, she talks about how when people talk about reconciliation, they're often talking about 5 steps on the part of colonial settler society and 95 steps on the part of Indigenous peoples. And she says, what we're asking for is to meet us further in, because if you meet us further in, there are amazing things that could be known. We could transform the spaces that we share today. So as a settler on Indigenous land, I invite my fellow settlers to follow Marianne's wise words, and shameless plug, this book is a great place to start for that. And lastly, I just want to mention the more Indigenous people we have in the publishing industry, working with authors and editing books like this, the better for everyone and for the books themselves. So I just wanted to drop the link to the Greg Younging Undergraduate Award in Publishing Studies, which was an initiative started by the Association of Book Publishers, it gets me every time, of BC, and run through SFU. So if you're fortunate enough to find yourself in a position to join me in donating to them, there's the link. And I hope I didn't go over time, but if I did, it would be appropriate for this book. Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael, and congratulations. Congratulations to all the finalists and recipients of Editors Canada's 2022 National Awards. We'd like to thank all the applicants and nominators of applicants for thinking of our awards and for caring about them. And we'd like to thank the judges of the various awards for their very hard work in considering the applications and making their choices. And many thanks to the Editors Canada members and other donors whose generous gifts have funded these the cash prizes for the various awards. I would also like to give a shout out to last year's judges. Last year, we had no awards ceremony, either in person or online. And the judges of last year's awards were quite indignant about this. And they insisted that pandemic or no pandemic, our award winners deserve to be celebrated. And by doing this, they planted the seed that led to this ceremony this year. Special thanks are also due to Maria Frank, the Vice President, for her support throughout the year, Vice President and soon to be President of Editors Canada. And extra special thanks to Michelle Wu, the Senior Communications Manager, without whom nothing whatever would happen in respect of awards at all. I'm called the awards coordinator, but I'm just a figurehead. She's the one who really does all the work. So thank you very much, Michelle. And thanks to all of you who attended today for being here and for being interested in Editors Canada's awards.